Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we got some interesting things or scary things to talk about. ZeniMax Online Studios just released the thread on the forums, and oh god, it's already super long. This is gonna be crazy. But before we start, please don't forget to subscribe. That would be much appreciated. And for people that don't know, I do have a Twitter, Instagram. I just recently started this. We're on YouTube. We just reached 100k, so that's very, very sexy. Thank you for that. And I also have a second channel where I usually upload my live streams. It's kind of like a VOD channel, pretty much. The links are all in the description below. So, what do we have here? It's kind of crazy. Sauce wants to do so. Everybody knows Cyrodiil is laggy as hell, and now they're testing something. And what do they test? That stuff here. So they might be adding a 3-second cooldown to all AoE spammables and or like abilities in general. Crazy stuff like that. But before we go through this, let's read through the whole thing so we get like context. As part of our ongoing performance optimizations, we have been spending a lot of time analyzing and addressing problems in Cyrodiil. I'm going to give a summary of what happened over the years. Okay, so I guess, let's see. When talking about ESO server performance, it is important to understand that all abilities in the game, with some exceptions, have a soft limit on the number of times they can be executed. An example of hard limit on an ability is an ability that is called that can be executed one time every 2 seconds, enforced by the server. Okay. As it doesn't have many of those, instead we designed the game to have soft limits, which means you can execute as many abilities as you want, as long as you have the resources, stamina or magicka to cast them. There's a global cooldown timer on all abilities, which is set to 1000 milliseconds. Yeah. It's also important to note, this is Cyrodiil only, and this will only be a few days. It's not gonna be for a full patch, just so you know. The design goal of soft limits in any game is to allow players to create builds that let them execute abilities more often depending on build choices made, and not to have hard ceilings on damage or healing per second. This gives a lot of control to the player, which makes for a really fun and interesting system, but it can lead to situations where players cast too many abilities too quickly if strict limits on resources are not enforced. So yeah, the game was designed in mind without like cooldown abilities. You have this internal cooldown, but that's about it, right? And now you can see here it already kind of paints the picture. That's why they started implementing cast times on skills, on ultimates and shit like that, because they want people to click less times, or like they want people to have less actions per minute or per second even, because the server can't handle it. Over the years, player power has grown considerably with the addition of a champion system, various armor weapon sets, and changed the abilities. You have reached a stage where players with the right build can cast near infinite numbers of abilities. Yes. However, that's the fault of ZeniMax. If they would balance the game properly, these problems would not be here. Infinite numbers of abilities and shit like that. Like, the problem is these days you can pretty much sustain forever and have crazy damage output. That shouldn't be possible. If you add in a properly managed group with some focus on damage and some focus on healing and regen boosts, you have perpetually running never-ending stream of abilities. Yes, the game was designed to do this. It does what it was designed for. I'm already get triggered when I read this stuff. With that in mind, consider how area of effect abilities work. When cast, they look at the specific target area, almost always the area directly around the caster. Find targets and perform the ability. Each of those steps requires server calculations. So I guess when we look at Blazing Spear from the Templar, you activate the ability, it checks if the area is like fine to land on, and then it has to check who can it damage in the area. Then secondly, there is also like the synergy. Okay, I have to check if there is allies in the area. Can it activate the synergies? So it wouldn't surprise me if you throw Blazing Spear once, it has like 50 different checks going out. If there is enough people in it, or like stupid stuff like that. It also has like the Blazing Spear also has a direct damage part, and it does have a damage over time part. On top of that, it probably has to check for all the passives, like Burning Light and all the other stuff that it might proc. So there is easily like 50 calculations from one button press alone already. That is causing problems with, that's what they're trying to say. There's just too much stuff happening, the server can't handle it. Now, let's keep going on. At launch, Cyrodiil's processors were able to keep up with the number of AoEs cast because most players couldn't cast that many of them. They ran out of magic or stamina, so they had to use AoEs. Yeah. Should this... whatever, man. Over time, as player knowledge grew and the regional builds grew in power, more players could cast more and more AoEs before running out of resources. I mean, they're not wrong, but again, it's a balance issue. The reason why people can spam endless shit is because they also deal a fuck ton of damage. Now, if you balance the game properly, people wouldn't be able to sustain forever and deal crazy amount of damage. Just saying. On another note, yes, in Cyrodiil ball groups, like when I talk to PvPers that like they're in Cyrodiil all the time, they usually say when the big ball groups log in, it starts to lag. So yes, it is definitely the problem. During these years, we found and fixed many performance issues in Cyrodiil, and we continue to do so. We have fixed significant issues, uncovered more, and continue to find and fix with every update. Yeah. However, one foundational issue remains. At some point, we crossed a threshold where most players in PvP were able to cast endless AoE abilities without ever running out of resources. This is done through player knowledge, builds, and group mechanics, and bad balancing, resulting in a constant stream of AoEs with many players never using any other type of ability. Overhealing in big groups is also very easy, so you also have that, like groups are not dying. Coordinated group barely dies. That also causes issues. This is not what we intended, but part of the fun of Elder Scrolls games is designing a build that has unexpected and powerful results, and we allowed it. However, as his behavior grew... and we allowed it. Whatever. However, as his behavior grew more prevalent, we reached a point where casting so many continuous AoE abilities in such a small area started to overwhelm the server process for that area, leading to situations where the lag meter spikes and the server becomes unresponsive. Yeah. So often people say like, well, it's not too laggy, I only have like 140 ping and stuff like that. The ping counter is lying into your face. It got changed like 1-2 years ago. There was 2 changes to the ping counters. First, like it was obvious. It showed like 800 ping, 900, like how it was. Then they changed something so it showed like 300-400 ping range most of the times when it was super laggy. And they changed it again like 2 years ago. And now, even though you cannot press abilities for like 3 seconds, you have like 180 ping. Why? Because that's rumors, okay? I don't know if it's like true. The game takes the best like latency tick, the ping tick from the last 10 seconds. So it displays always the ping number, the lowest ping number of the last 10 seconds. And that's how it's pretty much like very unreliable, obviously. Can't fix the problem, just fake the ping counter. I mean, it's obvious when people can press abilities for 2-3 seconds, it's obvious it lags, right? Anyway, this is not confirmed, this is just a theory. But I do know they fiddled around with the ping counter a few times and it doesn't show the actual situation anywhere. It would be great if somebody could make another one for that, if that's possible. Our initial response to this problem, starting with update 22, was to find and fix more than a few problems with AoE ability calculations and make them more performant, and we stayed mostly ahead of the problem, but as more players reach maximum champion level and more players started utilizing this particular method of AoE spamming, we have reached a point where we cannot fix this issue around the edges. We need to address the core problem, which will be starting with update 27. To do this, we will need to first do some analysis, and we can only do this on the live servers. That's smart. So it's good that they test this stuff on the live server, because if you test these things on a test environment, you're not gonna get good data. I mean, sure, they can kind of replicate the things, but like a bot they create can never do the same things as a player. It also doesn't kind of mirror the connection he has and things like that. As much as we try to avoid running tests on the live servers, you should do it more. They are the only place where the combination of player behavior, specific builds, and mass battles happen. So starting the week of August 24, we will be running a series of tests on the PC servers, both NA and EU, only in Cyrodiil. Please note that we will not be running these tests on any console servers. Each test should take about a week, but if we need it, we will extend it. So it won't be a full update. It will just be like, there's 4 tests, and each of them will maybe take a few days. And I highly recommend participating in the test, because even if it's annoying and if they don't manage to fix the issues right away, who knows, maybe they will gain some insight and might actually address the issue in like 3-4 years. It's like, Alcast, are you stupid? 4 years. I'm gonna die in 2 years. I can't wait that long. This game is gonna be like, it's gonna be alive for another 10-15 years minimum. So yes, it sucks if you have to wait that long, but what else can we do? That's a problem. First, okay, let's see. The first round of tests we are planning will focus on AoE abilities in Cyrodiil and will make it more difficult for AoE abilities to be the only abilities used, adjusting cooldowns, cost, and region values. Okay. These are the 4 tests. Now again, I mean, I'm like, I hate this stuff. I still think it's good that they test it to see if it addresses the issue. Now, will these tests be reliable? Depends, because player behavior is most likely gonna change. Like, most people that read this, they're probably not even gonna bother playing. Like, what the hell is this crap? So we might not have a lot of ball groups, circs around. And then it completely, like, the results will be useless. But I do hope they can track that. I think they can track stuff like that. So what would be the first test? Share global AoE cooldown 3 seconds timer. This test adds a global 3 second share cooldown to any AoE ability. This means that when you cast an AoE ability, you will not be able to cast another for 3 seconds. Yes. For example, as a Templar, if I cast Ritual of Retribution, I wouldn't be able to cast Puncturing Sweeps. Okay. So 1 AoE ability every 3 seconds. Breath of Life is AoE. You won't be able to cast it anymore. Pretty much any healing ability I can think of is AoE. So you better get a proc build ready to go. Is there any? Yeah, they're like burning shit. I don't know. Whatever. I don't think that. It is what it is. Pretty much, like, it probably will not lag if this goes through, because what do you want to do? You probably have to create a setup with just single target abilities. But still, like, how do you want to heal yourself? You're gonna stamina, you have to use a rally or something like that. I don't know. What the hell? Anyway, it is what it is. So that's the first one. The one thing I'm worried is, like, even if these tests would be successful and there is no more lag, what does Zenimax want to do? I mean, I do hope they will get some useful data out of it. But it's like, it already takes them 3 months to change one single skill. How in God's name do they want to change all classes just for shit like this? It's not gonna happen. They would have to get way more people. And another thing I feel like is, it's like, they blame everything on the combat team, but it's like, are the server engineers on holiday? Like, I'm sure you could improve code or something there. I'm not a developer, I have no clue. Maybe it's already super optimized, I don't know. But it just feels to me like, yeah, let's just, you know, the combat team has time. Let's blame all the lag on these boys and they have to fix it. That's what I read out of this. But maybe they do more tests behind it, but it doesn't really affect us. So that's maybe why they don't mention it. Anyway, let's move on. Individual AoE cooldown, 3-second timer. This test adds an individual AoE cooldown to each AoE ability. This means that when you cast an AoE, you will not be able to cast that same AoE for 3 seconds. So here, you can cast several AoE abilities, but just not the same one. So you can spam punching sweeps. Gotta use punching sweeps, and maybe a blockade, and something else, yada yada. Test 3. No cooldown global ramping AoE cost. So the more you spam, the higher the cost will be. Like, this one sounds like the least painful. Kinda, I guess. Test 4. Individual AoE cooldown. Global ramping AoE cost. Okay. So that's like a merge of these two together. Now, I do think this one is the most brutal one, and they do this first. People will be like, fuck this shit. Nobody will be left to test this stuff. So again, how do you want to get reliable results? It's gonna be tough. We will see, I might be wrong. Now, the good thing is, during the times that any of these tests are active, it will be awarding double alliance points. So you get an incentive, right? You get double AP while these tests are active. So that's a good thing. After we complete above tests, we may try other combinations of cooldown costs and region values on AoE abilities. However, we need to run these tests first and then assess the data. We will then let everyone know what we found and how we will move forward. So it looks like they will communicate these things to us. We will be very upfront. But please be aware that if these tests confirm our hypothesis, then chain casting AoE abilities will no longer form the core of the ESO PvP experience in the way it has for the last few years. So they're saying if these tests are successful, which I'm pretty sure it will work. So like, they're gonna pretty much change how PvP works. And I'm not sure, like, this sounds like they want to split PvP and PvE, because they only mention the PvP experience. PvE also has its issues in trials and dungeons, but way less, right? So it wouldn't need such a big adjustment. The question is, do you still want to play a game if things like this get implemented? Like, I mean, I barely play Cyrodiil because I can't stand the lag. So for me, it is whatever it is. But I know, I have talked to PvPers and they're like, I'm done, bye. Them even considering this, that's it. Peace, I'm out. In the end, I say, if we get the lag-free experience in 3-4 years, and then the game lasts for another 10 years, I can live with it. But it's still, it will be painful. And I still don't know how they will handle this. Like, it takes them so long to change 1-2 abilities. How do they want to change all classes? How do they want to split PvE and PvE? It's not gonna happen. Like, they would need like 20 times more people in the combat team to handle the workload. Okay, the code for these changes will be going to today's PTS patch, and we will be running some basic tests throughout the day on Tuesday in Cyrodiil to ensure we are able to make the above changes without requiring any maintenance or downtime. So it looks like they can make these changes while the servers are up. This is interesting. Oh god. I'm not... This... Well, I hope it works. Like, this sounds very risky. Changing things while the game is running. Maybe they have to boot out everybody out of Cyrodiil. And then we will see. Once we launch update 27 for PC on August 24th, so about a month, we will announce when one of the tests are beginning through an in-game announcement. So nice. At least they learned one thing. Let people know. Nobody reads the forum. Literally nobody except all the salty people, including me, right? Most people don't care. So it is good that they actually let people know in-game. Thank God. And it's nice that they give an incentive. It's actually like they care about this test. Remember, these tests will be limited to Cyrodiil, so AoE abilities in other PvP spaces, Imperial City and Battlegrounds, and will remain unchanged for now. So it's only Cyrodiil, nothing else is affected. We will evaluate how these tests go and let everyone know next steps. They probably should have written that at the top. Thanks for being patient and understanding with these tests. They're extremely important for the team and will help us work towards improving performance. Dots Gaming. Positive performance result. Yeah. Any nice memes? And people don't even... Well, they probably get deleted. Gotta get the juicy memes in here. But yeah, I don't know. Like, people are pissed. But people are also kind of happy that they actually test something. At least it's only to Cyrodiil, so while them performing the test, you have like alternatives like Imperial City or Battlegrounds. So it's not completely everywhere. It won't affect PvE, it's just Cyrodiil. Cyrodiil. And then we will see how long it will take them to assess the data, but it's gonna be hard to get reliable data. I do recommend, if these tests are on, try to at least play to help get good data. The more people we can stuff into Cyrodiil to test these things, the more reliable the data will be. Now again, I'm not a fan at all. Every time I hear cooldowns, I already get a stroke. Every time I hear like channel times and shit, it's just annoying. I already hate it when there's like a 0.3 seconds like a cast time on an ability. 3 seconds would be like, dude, I can go Amazon and buy a rope and a chair. Anyway, let me know in the comment section what you think about this beautiful test. In the end, it's good that they test something. Let's just hope we're not gonna end up with 3 seconds cast times. That would suck really hard. Thanks for watching and see you soon. Peace.